So what is growth and development? What is growth? We all grow and develop. Now, these are the normal terms we'll be hearing. We'll notice a small boy going from a height going towards an adult and maturing himself there, becoming a senile or old. These all the things that occur in our life is called as a growth and development. And if we see in the definition of orthodontics, we'll see that the study of growth and development in general and the face in particular, it clearly defines that to have a knowledge of orthodontics, we should have first the growth and development in general, the body, which is affecting the growth and development of the face in particular. And this is a big definition given by an anatomist Krogman to define what is growth. So you can see how many branches of these are involved in here. Growth anatomist, it is born to a biologist, physician, physiologist, statistician, psychologist, and endocrinologist, pediatrician, anthropologist, like this. So we are a part of this whole group. So we have to read what is growth and development is. So why we need growth and development? Because we deal with structures. If we read the orthodontics, we have to correct the maxilla and mandible. So these structures may be growing on. These structures which appear to small at one age may be a big one at all. There are the genetic factors and there are some environmental factors like habits, like all these, they may be affecting the abnormal growth. So first you have to know what is normal growth. Then you can know what is abnormal. So sometimes what appears to be a normal at a particular age will appear to be abnormal. So for example, we should have spaces between the primary teeth for the permanent teeth to adopt. If the same spaces are present in the permanent teeth, it is abnormal. But when it is present in the primary teeth, it is normal. So how the face changes from childhood, adolescence into the adulthood, we will learn it. And not only that, there is some particular direction. The mandible grows so and so in direction, the maxilla grows so and so direction. These are all the things that we have to know in order to apply the principles of treatment to a patient. So these are the different definitions given by different authors regarding the growth. And Huxley has defined the self-multiplication of living organisms. The Krogman has defined the increase in size, the proportion and progressive complexity. The third has increase in size. Like that, whatever you see, you can see that the growth refers to the multiplication of a substance and increase in the size. A size means here, it may be an length or tall increases, or it may be in weight, or he becomes a fat. So an increase in a proportion of any parameter like tallness, height, or weight is called as growth. Here we talk about how much it has happened. We are quantifying how much it is. So normally growth is a reversible process. That means it grows in only one direction. A man can become a tall, but he cannot become short. But sometimes it may be reversible. Example is our fat. A fat person can become a lean person can become a fat. And apart from this, we can see that some of the structures in the body, for example, our lymph gland is there. This lymph gland, after maturity, will become smaller in size. Instead of becoming bigger, it becomes smaller in size. And what is development? Sometimes we may be mixing up growth and development, but growth and development are different. A development is a quality thing. If I say development is why, when, we have to tell. Whereas when we talk about growth, how much we will talk about. In development, it is where the growth is occurring and how it is occurring, and all the changes that are occurring from an individual from a single cell. We begin all our life from a single cell. That is the zygote formed from the union of the sperm and the ovum to a multifunctional body organization of body consisting of so much organ systems. So this development consists of three things. One is growth or self-multiplication. Next is the differentiation and translocation, maturation or organization, whatever you call it. These differentiated structures move to the different spaces and they develop into the different structures. These three make up what is called as development. So differentiation is when multiplication is occurring. Multiplication of what happens in during multiplication, only one type of cells grows. So during differentiation, now we can see three types of layers are formed. One gives rise to ectodermal, one dimes to mesoderm or the muscles and bones. Another one gives the internal linings, the endoderm. So within the time frame, the self multiplication, differentiation, organization, these three takes place. This is nothing but our development. If this development leads to maturation, maturation means that is the final growth phase. This is called as development. Now you can see this how it happens. We start our life from the union of the sperm and ovum forming zygote. This is called as self-multiplication. Here, same type of cells are being formed by the mitosis and meiosis in the first phase of the mitosis one. So we can see a single cell multiplying into 2, 4, 16 like that. After some time, we will see the formation of ectoderm, endoderm, and the mesoderm giving rise to different structures. Likewise, after differentiation, we have what is called as maturation. So it gives to a matured phase with different structures derived from the different cells and organized into a phase like thing. Again, this phase starts growing from childhood to the adult. So we should know how the normal growth is different. We should differentiate between normal and abnormal growth. We should know the timing of growth. Why timing of growth is in orthodontics, we have three phases of treatment. One is during the malocclusion sets it, before malocclusion sets it, that is preventive orthodontic. Second is when the bone is growing or when the boy or girl is growing, we do some kind of treatment. It is called as where we will do the serial extractions, where we will do growth modulations. Growth modulation example is our functional appliances, our headgear, and all this we do. So we have to take advantage of this growth. We should know whether the growth is occurring in the boy is normal or abnormal. Sometimes due to the abnormal habits, they may be the cause of etiology, they may be cause of prognathic maxilla. If a patient is having a thumb sucking habit, if he is having a prolonged mouth breathing habit, all this leads to a bigger size of maxilla and it allows comparison of growth with other children. So what are the factors affecting the physical growth? We have the heredity, the nutrition, illness, race, socio-economic factors, climatic and seasonal, secular trends, psychological disturbances, exercises. These are the, in general, the factors affecting the physical growth. So we'll see what is heredity. We know that the different, each gene represents one character, one allele. So we have so many genes. So each one part, for example, we have the maxilla and mandible as bones. On maxilla and mandible, we have teeth. So when the coordination of genes causes a uniform growth of all these structures, when we have a perfect face or occlusion. If we derive a big maxilla from father and a small mandible from mother, the result is in a class 2 malocclusion. So that's why genes play an important role in the overall growth of a person. So next comes our nutrition. Nutrition, we know that the cells, they require nutrition for their growth. So when there is no proper nutrition, growth of thoughts and the body are disturbed. However, the effects of malnutrition are that means can be eating food, rebound whatever more than normal. That means the body responds positively and it comes back to normal. This is called as catch up growth. So the growth process accelerates when proper nutrition is provided. Next comes for illness. Same like illness. Sometimes we have a mild fevers, exanthematous or viral fevers. This may not affect the to extent, but prolonged debilitations like tuberculosis growth. Next comes the race. Oh, in the world we see different kinds of races. We can see the Negroes are very strong. This is again why different races are strong is sometimes it is related to their nutrition, the type of food they take, and the environmental factors. Of course, the genetic discomposition, the genetic composition of these groups may also be different. They were given a strong body. Next comes your socio-economic factors. Socio-economic factors means how well and what is the family position we have been brought up. So if we have enough money, we will have enough thing to buy, and there won't be any problem in the nutrition. Usually, the patients are usually the persons brought about in a good family or in a high class families do not have any problem with the growth and family size in birth order. If you take the family size, the smaller the family size, of course, the more amount of food will be available to all the persons in the family, and there will be better nutrition and better growth will be there. It is also noted that if a person is born first in the family, ఎందుకంటే పెద్ద ఉంటే ఇంట్లో అందరికన్నా అన్నగానే ఉంటే అన్నకి ఎక్కువ తెలివి ఉంటుందంట తమ్ముడు కన్నా. బట్ దే ఆర్ షార్ట్, వాళ్ళు పొట్టిగా ఉంటారంట. అంటే ఫస్ట్ పుట్టిన వాళ్ళు పొట్టిగా ఉంటారు కానీ తెలివిగా ఉంటారు. నెక్స్ట్ కమ్స్ సెక్యులర్ ట్రెండ్స్. సెక్యులర్ ట్రెండ్స్, వాట్ ఆర్ సెక్యులర్ ట్రెండ్స్? సెక్యులర్ ట్రెండ్స్ ఏంటంటే జస్ట్ ఇఫ్ వి సీ సమ్ ఫినామినా which is before 50 years and we compare with it now, there will be difference. For example, if we see our parents, all our parents are taller in general compared to our generation. We are short by 2 to 3 millimeters. Your generation will be still shorter than us. Likewise, third molar, if you take third molar, how many of you are having 3 molars, 4 molars? None of you having the all the 3 molars. You may have 28 teeth or 30 teeth at best. This is the reason. So same thing, the arrival of monarch. So previously monarch used to arrive at 14 years, 13 to 14. Now due to the available and the change patterns, Indians has changed to 11 to 12 years of age. And climatic and seasonal variation. Again, it is related to the how the body adapts to the climate outside external environment. So this may indirectly affect the adipose tissue or fat. A person growing in a chill weather will have a fatty body. Why? Because it is an adaptation to that particular climate. Now we have what is called as psychological disturbances. When you are in stress, there is inhibition of growth hormones. When growth hormone is affected, you know that growth is affected and it hampers the growth. Next is exercise. When you do exercise, strenuous and regular exercise, it keeps you fit. It makes your body grow. It increases your favorable endocrinological factors that increase in the growth of the body. So we are talking about growth, growth, growth. So what are the normal features? So when I say growth, you see a person at a particular age, you should be able to identify is it normal or not. Every one of us may not have an ideal 100% of growth. A small variation is present. If you take in your class, I say that average growth in your class is 5 feet 5 inches for males and 5 feet for girls. It doesn't mean all of you are 5 feet for girls. There may be variation of 2 to 3 inches this side and this side. Some of you may be 5'5" and some of you may be 4 feet and 55, 55, 58 inches like that. So this is called as a normal. Normal means a little bit of variability is founded, but within the limits. So we have what is called as the pattern. In this, we are going to study about the differential growth, the cephalocaudal gradient of growth, and next comes the variability, how much variation is possible, and of course, the rate and direction within which time framework we are going to read. So we can going to see what is that normal to that particular age. You can see here a child and a old age grandfather here. So how the face matures into a small face into a matured maxilla and mandible, and we know that our face is made up of bones, cartilage, and the muscles surrounding it. So how it changes is a normal phenomena. So if we take the growth process, there is a rhythm of growth. Growth is not a line, it is not a single straight line. It is like a song, like showing ups and downs. So if we take the increment, if I say in first year, in the start of the life, it may be 2 to 3 millimeters in the whole year. Next year, he may be growing 5 millimeters. That next year, he may be going 6 millimeters. Like that, it will be a rhythm of the growth. So in the first wave or the first peak occurs from birth to 6 years of age. It is most rapid. That is why if you observe the small children, they will grow rapidly within the first 1 or 2 years. Then again a slow phase occurs. Again, if we can see in adolescence, we can see that boys in the 10 to 12 years and girls at an early age, there is what is called as peak or increasing growth. That is occurs during a mixed dentition period. Again, we have at adolescence another rhythm of the growth or increased growth period. So same concept like rhythms we are going to learn growth spurts. So there are certain periods in our life we have seen from rhythm, there is acceleration of growth. Suddenly the patient grows to a large velocity. These periods where the growth has catch up or the patient increases more in height or more in fat, we call it as growth spurt. Many of you have been observing that we all grow during our intermediate or after passing out 10th. You might have noticed that your parents commenting that you are growing tall, you are growing stout and stout, you are going taller than me, you are going taller than your brother. All this because of growth spurt. So why this growth spurt happens? This growth spurt is due to the hormonal secretions. So these hormones causes the development of secondary sexual characters, and again in these in turns may produce the organs produced during the secondary sexual character development. They may produce other hormones like testosterone and estrogen. All this combinedly causes a spurt. Spurt means a sudden increase in the growth of the individual. So these growth spurts have characteristic what is called as sexual dimorphism. sexual dimorphism is they are not equal in males and females. This is an important question for theory here carefully. So this is that means that is not uniform in males and females. It's different in males and females. Compared to the boys, females mature earlier. That means they complete the growth spurt, and growth spurts also occur early in the case of females. And number of growth spurts also is more in females. So the males are the late and latest as we go for cinema dialect. When it comes late, it is not a old one, it is the latest one. So the growth continues in the boys for more periods of time, though it comes very late, whereas in the girls it comes early. That is why the girls look with pretty face and a small juvenile face like babies, whereas boys look harsh. This is the reason difference between sexes, why we boys appear harsh. Now, what are the timing of different growth spurts? Just before growth spurt, we cannot see that growth spurt where we have a sudden increase. Next 1 year after growth spurt, we have one more growth spurt. Within the 1 year, you can see a small boy growing in size, boy or girl growing in abdominal size. And mixed dentition growth spurt. Again, during mixed dentition growth spurt, you can notice that there is change. This is the period where we'll be studying second or third class. Next, the prepubertal growth spurt, sometimes it is called as adolescent growth spurt. It occurs 14 to 16 years in boys and girls around 11 to 13 years. So after that, one more phase, the adolescent growth spurt may or may not be present. So what is the importance of growth spurt? So we have to concentrate on interceptive procedures during mixed dentition growth spurt and during prepubertal growth spurt. So if you can see this is the maximum growth spurt. So this is where the boys and girls maximum amount of growth in an growth in of an individual. So once the growth is completed, we can go for orthognathic surgeries. While the body is growing or the bones are growing, you cannot take up orthognathic surgeries. When only the body is growing or the maxilla and mandible is growing, you can go what is called as growth modulation. This is the period where you give your functional appliances, your headgear, your habit breaking appliances, your serial extractions, all these are given during the growth spurt, that is the prepubertal growth spurt. So again, why this growth spurt happen? Because as I told you, when the skeleton is not growing properly, maxilla and mandible, you can stop the maxilla, you can make the maxilla grow. Likewise, you can also control the mandibular growth. And that's why it is called as an important phase in orthodontics. So as already mentioned, orthognathic surgeries, you have to wait till the growth is completed. Likewise, you can go for arch expansion during the maximum period in this growth phase or growth spurt stage. So next comes your concentration of differential growth. What is differential growth? Our body has so many organs, but all of the organs do not go uniformly at a particular period of time. We notice that different organs grow at different rates to a different amount at different times. But this can be explained by two phenomena. One is the Scammann's curve of growth, and second one is cephalocaudal gradient of growth. These are also very important examination point of view. Many times you will get questions on these two topics, the Scammann's curve of growth and cephalocaudal gradient of growth. So what is Scammann's growth curves or Scammann's growth curves? Robert Scammani has put up. According to him, not only according to our body is made up of different types of tissues like neural tissue, the lymphoid tissue, the genital tissue, which brings about the secondary sexual characters, and this is general body tissue. General body tissue is called as somatic tissue. It makes up our bone, muscle mass, and everything. Lymphoid tissue is the tissue which is helpful in our immunological or resistance to the body. This neural tissue, which is made up of our brain and other nerves, it is completed early in the age, that is by 6 to 7 years, neural growth is completed. So this neural growth is the first to complete. So by the age of 5 years, almost you can see that it has reached the 100%. Then it becomes a flat. You cannot observe any change. That's why people used to say that our mind is not, our brain is not growing. బుర్ర పని చేయట్లేదురా అంటుంటారు. 10 ఏళ్ల తర్వాత డెఫినెట్ అది కరెక్టే. 10 ఏళ్ల తర్వాత మనకు బుర్ర పని చేయదు, బ్రెయిన్ ఉండదు, ఇంకా పెరగదు ఇంకా బ్రెయిన్ 10 ఏళ్ల తర్వాత. సో మనం ఏమైనా నేర్చుకోవాలంటే 10 ఏళ్ల లోపలే నేర్చుకోవాలి. Likewise, we have lymphoid tissue. What is the significance of lymphoid tissue is it grows 200% in the growth spurts explained చేస్తున్నాం. These growth spurts, during the time of growth spurts, the lymphoid tissue increases to 200%. Why this increases about 200%? Because the body is growing enormously to keep in pace and to provide the enough resistance to the body and to provide the T lymphocytes and other tissues which increases the resistance of body to defense and to provide the defense line of mechanism for the body to combat the bacterial and other infections. The lymphoid tissue grows. Once the body gets acclimatized, once the resistance develop, and it suddenly drops down. It suddenly drops down to an extent that it is sometimes the size of the lymphoid tissue may be normal than the normal growth. This is called as regression or negative growth. That's what we were discussing about. Not only the body grows in positive direction, always up, sometimes it grows in downward direction. This is called as negative growth. So genital tissues, these genital tissues may be present from the time of birth, but around the mixed dentition period and the start of prepubertal growth phase, these starts increasing enormously, and within 1 or 2 days, 1 or 2 years, up to the stage of adolescence, they rise, peak, and they becomes constant after that. So general body tissue or somatic tissue, it is an a shape curve. This is the most of the times what we are discussing about growth spurts. This is the tissue which forms the growth spurts, the general tissue or somatic tissue. It forms an, if you notice it, it is an a shape or, so our maxilla and mandible, our face and everything is related to this general growth spurt. So this is what I have discussed. So the lymphoid tissue, adenoids, that's why we always examine the adenoids. We ask the patient to examine the adenoids whether swollen or not, or whether it is normal. So genital tissue, so at the prepubertal period, though it is present from the birth, it starts increasing during adolescence. The neural growth consists of the skull, eyes, ears, and development. No adolescent, but is noted. Neural growth completes growth by 6 years. So no spurts are present. Most of the times spurts are present in the general or somatic growth. This already we have discussed. So it reaches 200%, then regresses again. It is also called as regression or involution. So this is rapid during adolescence growth phase. So next comes why difference in growth occurs is due to what is called as the cephalocaudal gradient of growth. Cephalo means head, caudal means tail, gradient a decrease in the quantity in a regular manner. So, what is cephalocaudal gradient of growth? It is an axis of increased growth extending from the head towards the feet, or to put it in other words, the structures away from cella turcica or the hypophysis in the brain. So, the structures away from the brain grow rapidly. That means the legs are situated, the legs or extremities are situated away from our cella turcica. So they grow rapidly after birth. So the structures close to the cella turcica will grow less during the postnatal growth or the growth after birth. If you can notice in a child, a newborn child, almost the head occupies 1/4 of his body. ఇంతలా ఉంటుంది తల చూడడానికి మొత్తం తలే కనిపిస్తుంటుంది చైల్డ్ లో. Then if you notice the same thing in an adult, in a full grown adult, it occupies not less than 1/8 of the body height. How this happens? Is it going to decrease? Is the height of the head going to decrease? No. The relative length of the height of the head appears to be decreased due to the more growth of the structures or the extremities away from the head. This is called as cephalocaudal gradient of growth. Since these are the structures which are present away from the head or cella turcica, they grow more rapidly after the birth. That's why the head appears to be small. It is not becoming small, but it is the other structures which are growing rapidly after birth. This is called as cephalocaudal gradient of growth. You can see here the phenomena how it is occurring clearly. So same thing occurs in the maxilla and mandible. So out of maxilla and mandible, maxilla is close to the cella turcica, whereas the mandible is little bit away from the cella turcica. So which shows more growth? It is the mandible that shows more growth after birth or in the postnatal bones compared to the mandible. So same thing. We have the base of the cranium, we have the face. The skull and the base situated close to the cella turcica shows 30% of the growth after birth, whereas the face shows 70% of the growth. And within the face again, as I explained, the mandible which is situated away from the cella turcica grows more rapid growth after birth. Can you notice that how the head appears to be small? This is called as cephalocaudal gradient of growth. Now you know different tissues grows at different phases at different periods of time to bring about a uniform proportion between the different structures of the body. So how do we know the growth? How do we study the growth? Unless we have a data, we cannot study the growth. So sometimes opinions like elders observing the growth. they can tell our elders who are watching us right from our birth to adolescence. If they observe 10 children, previous days in joint families, there used to be fathers. They will observe all the generations. They can give a generalization of growth occurring in the families when they are growing to tell. They can correctly anticipate and guess. Uh, and after opinion, if you observe it, it appears to be sometimes normal. This is a crude method. Next, we have what is called as quantitative measurements, or sometimes we will measure directly. Direct data. Direct data means where we measure the height and tall on the patients. Indirect data. So if we measure the weight and height, it is a direct data because directly or dotting on collecting from the candidate. From the direct data, you will get indirect data. Indirect data is sometimes what is called as a BMI index. So it can be derived also. Indirect data and derived data is we will get from the direct data. So how you collect this data? Sometimes you collect from longitudinal studies. Longitudinal studies. Long means very long. Longitudinal studies, cross-sectional and overlapping or semi-longitudinal studies. This we are going to discuss you will learn about in your community dentistry. So longitudinal studies means a group of individuals will be studied through regular intervals. So if I want to know how all of you are growing in your class, I have to watch you right from your childhood. If you go on watching you at the time of birth, at the time of 4 years, at the time of 5 years, at the time of completing your 10th class, at the time of completing your intermediate examination, at BDS first year and BDS final year. That means I am making the measurements of all of you at different periods of time, and I will come to a conclusion that the growth of these final year batch students right from birth is like that. So I am watching all of you right from your birth to your final years at regular intervals. So this is called as longitudinal study. So there are advantages is the perfect data you will get. You will exactly get how the growth is occurring. You can compare serially between different age groups. But one of the disadvantages is it is time consuming. So we have to follow the same person for so many years. There is what is called as attrition or loss of interest. It may be on the part of the person who is doing the study, or it may be on the part of the patient participating. We have many growth studies in the world. Some of the 80 years long or 75 years. So they are following the same person for 70 to 80 years, and most of them are situated in America. Bolton Brush growth study, Burlington Stewart study, and Michigan growth study. These are different types of studies you are having. Next is cross-sectional study. So instead of how to find out your growth changes from your birth to final year, now I wanted to find out the average growth or average height of all of the persons in your class right now at this point of time. So I will measure you only once and I will put an average. Now I will declare the result like this. The average growth of the males in this class is 5.5 as measured on this date for males, and 5 feet to the girls as measured on this date. So I am measuring all of you only at one time and I am giving the result. This is called as a cross-sectional study. So what is the advantages is if I go wrong, I can repeat it. Very quicker method, and it is less costly, and statistical analysis can also be measured. But the problem is a variation in growth may have occurred between all of you. One may appear 5 feet, another may appear 5.5 feet, another may appear 6 feet. I don't know where these changes has occurred. All of you might have started with 2 to 3 feet when you are in your third year or fourth year. You may be slowly growing, and I can tell if I do a longitudinal study, I can tell when the growth spurt occurred as a group of individuals in your class. But now I cannot tell when the growth or growth spurt has occurred. I can tell the present status of your class. This is called as cross-sectional studies. So sometimes I don't want to tell everything from your birth. I want to tell only the adolescent growth spurt as when it has occurred in your age group. So I start you following right from your 9 years of age and up to your intermediate. So I can tell when the growth spurt has occurred, adolescent growth spurt has occurred in all of you. This is called as semi-longitudinal studies. So semi-longitudinal means not a full longitudinal study at different time periods within a limited time extent. This is called as semi-longitudinal studies. This is the merger of both longitudinal and cross-sectional studies. So we have methods of studying growth. We have craniometry. Craniometry is direct measurement of the cranium or the skull. Anthropometry. So anthropometry is also a direct method and the craniometry is living, whereas anthropometry is non-living substances. Cephalometric radiography is indirect method. So in cephalometric radiography, what we do is we obtain the radiograph of the skull, and on the skull we have measured. And the other method we have vital staining, autoradiography, radioisotopes, and implant radiographs like that. So most of the times in orthodontics, we use the anthropometric measurements like your Frankfurt horizontal plane, and everything is due to the anthropometry only. So the cephalometry, we will take the skull or the maxilla and mandible and the cranium. We'll get a lateral cephalogram like this. We will measure the measurements on this. You might have watched our PGs doing the cephalometric analysis on the lateral cephalogram. So this is a method of indirect measurement. So with this indirect measurements, we will put up some formulas and try to bring the derived data how the maxilla and mandible are related to one another. So vital staining, this is another important short answer. So the John when he pigs eating a particular type of plant, he noticed when these pigs are killed, their bodies or their bones are stained. So he has noticed due to the alizarin dye. These dyes are fed into the experimental animals, and you can know how the bone is growing, the direction how the bone is growing, where the site of bone growth is there, the direction and amount of growth. But remember, if you want to study the bone, the animal has to be sacrificed. These are experimental methods only. Sometimes you induce radioisotopes, and you know the measuring the quantity of isotopes, you can tell where the bone growth is occurring, where the hot spots are like that. Use technetium 99 and calcium 44. Sometimes implant, you put an implants in the body. After when the bone grows, the distance between the implants grows. You can measure the measurements, and you can study how much growth has occurred. So these are the different spots where you keep implants. The JORK is famous, BJORK, JORK implant studies. It is by whom you know about how the mandible rotates, how the distance between the two plates of maxilla increases. So now we have at the cellular level three possibilities of growth: hypertrophy, hyperplasia, and hypertrophy is increase in the size of the organism. Hyperplasia is increase in the number of cells. Likewise, we have three types of tissues: the soft tissue, connective tissue, and bone. Interstitial tissue is within tissue. లోపల కానీ జరిగితే, అదే కానీ బాడీ పైన జరిగితే, you call as surface apposition. It is not apposition, sorry, APPOSITI1. It is an bone growth, surface apposition, whereas interstitial growth is all soft tissues and cartilage. These all the things we are going to discuss in our next class. So we have two types of ossification. Intramembranous ossification, that is a membrane is formed, and within this connective tissue membrane we have what is called as bone. It is called as intramembranous ossification. But sometimes a cartilage is formed. This cartilage is converted into bone. This is called as endochondral ossification. These are the two types of classification. For intramembranous, we have the calvarium, the body of the mandible, the maxilla, and everything is intramembranous. Endochondral ossification is formed at the base of the skull, where we have to bear a stress or weight. So there is mesenchymal condensation, and there is form of hyaline cartilage. This hyaline cartilage undergoes degeneration and is slowly replaced by bone cells. This is an example of our endochondral ossification. And instead of a cartilage forming, if it forms in the membrane directly from the condensation of the mesenchymal tissues, it is called as intramembranous ossification. This is an example of your endochondral ossification, where the hyaline cartilage is slowly converted into an endochondral bone. These are two types of ossifications we have. Next is drift. Due to the addition, we know that the bone grows by drift. What is drift? Drift is nothing but adding or subtracting the bone formed on the surface. So the total of changes between the bone at a particular point of initial and final point of time, you can see that bone appears to drift from one place to the another. This is called as cortical drift. So the amount of changes that occurring due to the opposition and resorption is called as cortical drift. As a result of cortical drift, it is called as displacement. If the bone grows on its own, it's called as primary. If it is pushed by some other bone, it is called as secondary displacement. You can see minus or plus, plus, plus. If I put plus, plus means the bone is growing in this direction. So as a whole, the mandible appears to grow backwards and backwards because due to the addition of more bone on the superior and the posterior surfaces. The green mark indicates plus plus. Minus means it is resorption. So as a whole, the body appears to translocate or displace backwards and upwards due to the addition or the drift of the bone, due to the addition of or remodeling process. So the drift leads to the dislocation or the displacement. So we have primary displacement and displacement. Next, we are going to study the different sites of craniofacial complex, these four areas, and different theories we are going to learn tomorrow or next class.